Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, President Trump claims that a framework of a future deal on Greenland is in the works. Also tonight, we'll hear about a new way to measure snowpack in Arizona's high country, and a new traveling exhibit focuses on stories from Holocaust survivors. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. President Trump today canceled additional planned tariffs on U.S. allies in Europe after claiming that the U.S. had an agreement with NATO over a, quote, concept of a framework for a future deal involving Greenland. The president's speech today also took aim, often in mocking tones, at U.S. allies in Europe and Canada. Joining us now is Dr. Evelyn Farkas, Executive Director of ASU's McCain Institute. Good to see you again, Evelyn. Thank you so much for joining us. I thought of you when all this was going on here because we just need to get a perspective. First of all, the framework of a future deal with Greenland. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a framework with a deal and a future. It's very vague, right? We don't really know. But I'm guessing it contains two components. President Trump has said he's concerned about China and Russia somehow gaining an edge militarily in Greenland. So it probably includes some kind of increase of forces, possibly European, possibly American. The second thing that President Trump has, expressed alarm about or complained about is the need for these rare earth minerals that are located deep under the snow, under the terrain in Greenland. Hard to get at, but he would like to get at them. So there may also be some kind of, preliminary agreement to have U.S. companies come in and have a look, do a survey or look at a survey, talk about whether they might be able to extract some of those minerals, and the U.S. could somehow get special access to them.
But don't we already have bases there? We have a military presence there. The concept of China and Russia threatening the Arctic area involving Greenland, that's already there, is it not, Evelyn?
Yes, and look, I don't think President Trump is wrong to point out that we have a real potential threat from Russia and China. They want to control the Arctic region. Frankly, the Arctic ice is melting, and there's what they call the Northern Passage through the Arctic area that China and Russia would like to control. The reason we have a military, frankly, is so that we can make sure that there's freedom of navigation for trade and for the transit of people and, of course, also our military. And so we would like to make sure that it is fortified so that Russia and China aren't flowing their forces in, probably on boats, and trying to cut off access. So that is important. But as you said, we have a base there. It's a pretty significant base. We also have smaller bases that were closed after the Cold War ended, when we thought mistakenly that we wouldn't face a threat from Moscow. Those can be reopened as well.
All right. And also not going through with the tariffs on allies. I think it was an additional 10% that would have been hit on February 1st. This is now, is it postponed? Is it canceled? What do we know?
Well, it sounds like President Trump says it's canceled, although we know with President Trump, he loves to create uncertainty and verbally, put these tariffs on countries. The Supreme Court will ultimately decide, I hope soon, because the uncertainty I don't think is helpful for businesses in Arizona or anywhere else. So people are waiting for that decision. But President Trump likes to throw that out as his kind of favorite form of punishment. The Europeans, though, Ted, they countered. They said, okay, we can tariff you right back. And obviously, that would be really painful for the United States. They're our number one trading partner. And, as you know, tech companies, many companies rely on that trade with Europe.
I was going to say, multinational corporations, especially the tech companies, they're worldwide. They need that worldwide market. They don't need this kind of stuff.
No, I mean, they don't need the uncertainty, and they definitely don't need Europeans saying that they're not going to purchase, goods or allow our services to be purchased in Europe. So already the tech companies have an environment in Europe where they feel that they're too regulated. And so tariffs would just add to that. And ultimately, tariffs, would, if America imposed them on Europe, they would hurt, I shouldn't forget, the consumer. So all around, it would be bad for trade. And, when we have this kind of protectionism with tariffs being lobbed on by both sides, you end up risking a degradation in the political affairs, and that's where, in history we've seen even the extreme of war. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go to war anytime soon with the Europeans, but that is the kind of worst case scenario.
Let's talk about the political affairs, and let's talk about the president's speech here in Switzerland today. He confused Greenland with Iceland. All right, that's okay. Whatever. That's concerning, but it's not the most concerning.
He's 79.
Yeah, it's not the most concerning thing that was said. Disrespected European leaders and Canadian leaders basically to their faces. Told the Canadians, the Canada Prime Minister, you need to be more grateful to the U.S. after Canada, I guess, mentioned that there was a rupture in the world and that middle countries needed to band together against the superpower. I mean, this seemed like this was pretty rough stuff going on here from the president to everyone in attendance.
Right. And the thing is, Ted, it's not just about making friends and influencing people. When it comes to statesmanship, we want these countries to be on our side. Why? Because we have bases all over the world, and those bases protect, as I said before, our commerce, our trade, U.S. interests, U.S. citizens even. So the bases are actually relatively low cost because our allies help us keep them up. And they're not only in Europe, but they're also in Asia. I just came back, as I mentioned to you, from Japan. These allies help us extend our power globally. If we want to shrink into a smaller power and not have allies, then we will be in a world that's much more dangerous to us. Because as we extend out, we keep the bad guys farther away from our borders and our country.
What is this doing, though, to our allies and doing to world order as we see it, as we want it, as we have had it? I mean, is this ruffling of feathers? I mean, it's the Canadian Prime Minister, again, and I mention him because he's been very active of late, Evelyn. He's over there in China, for goodness sakes.
Right. Well, look, at the end of the day, whether it's relationships among countries or between people, trust is at the core. And so all of this, this type of really nasty language, frankly, and going back and forth, acting like we're in an adversarial situation with our allies, reduces trust. And if you cannot trust, then you look for other options, you hedge. And that is exactly what the Canadian Prime Minister did, Mark Carney, when he turned to the Chinese and said, you know what? The United States has had in the past asked Canada not to allow electric vehicles onto the North American continent, okay, into Canada in any event. And he said, he agreed with us. He worked with our government, and we kept Canadian electric vehicles, which, by the way, are supposedly better than American ones, and they're quite, they're quite competitive, right? He kept them off of our common border. Well, now he's allowing them in. He's basically saying to the United States, I'm not looking out for your interests anymore. My citizens can buy Canadian electric vehicles, and if they cross the border, into Detroit, so be it. And they might tempt Americans, and that's a problem for Detroit in particular.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Hey, last question deals with NATO. And the quote from the president today, the problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%, but I'm not sure that they'll be there for us. Where does that come from? And what does that mean, again, regarding the impact of the stability of U.S. alliances?
Right. I mean, if NATO doesn't believe that we are a reliable ally, as I said before, they'll start hedging. And if we need their help, for example, if China makes a move against Taiwan, which would be bad because we have, first of all, we're in Hawaii. We are already an Asia Pacific nation. We have bases in Japan, which are not far from Taiwan. We have a commitment to Taiwan. We don't want to encourage China to, steal the people of Taiwan and the territory of Taiwan against international law. That's what we're trying to prevent in Ukraine. So at the end of the day, we don't want our allies to turn away from us. We need them.
Okay, we need them. Will they be there for us? Now, yes, I believe the rupture isn't complete, but we're certainly going down a rocky path.
Right. And the thing is, like I said, we need them in Europe because of our trading relationship, because they help us in other scenarios. We need them in Asia because we're also an Asia Pacific country. Again, we have bases in Japan and Korea. Why? To keep the North Koreans and the Chinese, our adversaries, out of our backyard, which is Hawaii. So, there are very good military reasons and then, of course, trade reasons to protect all of these avenues of trade, what the Chinese, frankly, want to control for themselves. We are in a competitive situation. I mentioned this to you before, Ted, with Russia and China. I think your viewers should not forget these are not normal countries. They invade their neighbors. They torture people. They put them in concentration labor camps. They're not democracies. They're dictatorships of the worst kind. We don't want them to have influence globally. We want to have our democratic countries, the United States and our allies and partners, to have the upper hand, which we have right now. We are still the most powerful nation, and we are the most powerful alliance with our NATO members and our Asian allies.
Dr. Evelyn Farkas, ASU McCain Institute. Evelyn, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the honor, Ted.
Next time, as Campbellford prepares for a royal visit, a man is murdered.
Have you any idea how this is going to look?
But when Father Brown investigates, he suspects a dark secret.
Very well hidden.
Father Brown.
Saturday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Next time on Death in Paradise, a model is murdered during a fashion show.
Poor girl.
Why is she holding this?
A case where appearances are deceiving.
These women have been traumatized. They need handling gently.
On Death in Paradise.
Saturday night at 8 on Arizona PBS. Saturday at 11 on Arizona PBS.
A lot of the plants that are still here, especially like the cacti, the saguaro is one that is really prominent to the people, to the O'odham community. We have a lot of respect for the saguaro itself, or the hashan as we call it. It also provides us with the fruit, and it also provides us with materials for our houses, our ramadas or vatos. In the summertime when the fruit is ready to be harvested, it's what we call our new year. And it's to reflect on everything in the past year, but also to look forward into the coming year to what's coming up. And at this time, they would do certain ceremonies, whether in different communities or just within families. They would sing traditional songs to bring the rain. Because you live in the desert, we need the water, again, to survive.
ASU and SRP are teaming up for a new project that uses planes equipped with scanning technology to measure snowpack across Arizona's watershed. The goal is to help SRP forecast winter runoff so as to better manage its reservoirs. And to learn more, we welcome Enrique Vivoni. He's director of ASU Center for Hydraulic Innovations. Good to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
This sounds like really inventive and new ways to figure out the snowpack, huh?
It is. In fact, we're combining different methods to try to understand how much snow we have in Arizona.
Oh, ASU and SRP are working together here now?
That's correct. We're also working with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation that funded the project and with a private company called ASO, Airborne Snow Observatories. And they run these planes all over the western U.S., Wyoming, Colorado, California, to map snow, typically for water agencies, to use those products to predict the amount of water to expect in the next spring or summer season.
And I would imagine measuring snowpack would be tough a bit in Arizona, especially the high country. You're obviously in the high country, but especially in Arizona, because the sun tends to melt this stuff so quickly. Is that a problem?
That's a key difference that we have with other states.
Yes.
Our snowpacks do not last as long as they do, say, in Colorado. So our snow season's much shorter. And the snowpacks can build up and they can melt.
Yes.
And they can build up again and they can melt.
So the snow's there 1 minute and it's gone the next.
That's correct.
Okay, so obviously measuring this is tricky. I would imagine the terrain in Arizona would be tricky as well when you're not, 1,000 feet off the ground.
Right, and the plane's flying at 17,000 feet. It flew today.
Yes.
Mapped during a 5-hour airplane flight the area around the upper Black River in the headwaters of the Salt River. So this plane is mapping in treacherous terrain. Not only is the terrain treacherous, but also it's forested. We're trying to look at snow on trees, snow under trees.
Interesting.
Snow between trees. This is mapping at a really high resolution. Think of it as a few feet by a few feet. We'll have a measurement of how much snow there is, the depth, how much water is in that snowpack, and the snow color. The snow color tells us about how reflective the snowpack is to the sun's rays.
Interesting. All right, so how does this work? The plane gets up there, and what happens on the plane?
So the plane has these two sensors that are hanging from the bottom, literally. There's an opening in the plane. One of those sensors is called a LiDAR. It uses pulses of light, and it detects how fast those pulses of light travel to the surface, bounce off the snowpack, and come back up. Next to it is an imaging spectrometer. This is measuring, say, the color of the snow and of the trees and of the other parts of the terrain. And from that, we're inferring other properties of the snowpack. These two are on the same system. You're measuring the location of the airplane so that you can correct for where is it that you took the images relative to what mountain.
But when you talk about the LiDAR, it goes down, bounces, and comes up. How does that measure the actual depth and the volume of the snow?
We know the speed of light. So we just have to measure the travel time of a light pulse as it bounces off the snowpack and come back. If we know the speed of light and the travel time, we'll know the distance. So when the snowpack is deep, that distance is shorter. When the snowpack is less deep, that distance is longer.
Okay, but you'd have to also know the relative elevation of the area, true, or is that not necessary?
No, there was already a snow flight that was done prior to the snow building up, where we know all the terrain, all the trees and where they are, all the buildings and roads. So we're looking at the differences in elevation between the snow-free flight and the snow-on flight that we did today.
Now, this is, how accurate are these? Are these models, are these estimates, or are these the real deal here?
No, this is the real deal. These are direct observations using imaging and laser technology. We use models for other activities in our research. And this data set we could call the truth. One of the things that we're doing is we're training an algorithm using artificial intelligence techniques so that we can mimic what the airplane sees, but not from the airplane, from satellites. The satellites are there all the time.
Wow.
They're measuring every day, but they don't have the accuracy that the airplane does. The airplane's coming only 3 times to Arizona. We want to map it every day.
Yeah. And SRP needs this information. How is SRP going to use the information?
Well, SRP uses snow information to help manage the reservoir system. They'll know when the snow melts, how much snow is there. They have an expectation of the amount of water coming into the reservoirs, and they can make decisions as to whether to hold water in the reservoirs or release it. In that translation, there's a hydrologic model that we're also using in this project to help SRP.
Last question here. I guess that the plane took off from Safford, I
That's
believe,
correct.
today.
Yep.
Okay, how quickly are the results known? How quickly does SRP get those results and move into action?
Well, today we saw the flight path of the airplane as it was going along the watershed. It was a really cool image. We have some initial data already, so we expect this to be transferred to SRP fairly soon. SRP had staff today on the ground taking measurements as the aircraft was flying to try to validate some of the measurements the aircraft takes.
Wow, very cool stuff. All right, Enrique Vivoni, again, ASU Center for Hydraulic Innovation. This really is hydraulic innovation here, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yeah, good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
The Arizona Jewish Historical Society and Hilton Family Holocaust Education Center debuting a traveling exhibit that showcases the stories of Holocaust survivors and the people who helped shape those survivors and their journeys. Tali Dippold is the Executive Director of the Hilton Family Holocaust Education Center, and she joins us now. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining
me. Good to see you.
All right, this is titled Triumph in Tragedy. It's an exhibit. Talk to us about it.
Sure. While we are in construction of the new Holocaust Education Center, we wanted to make sure that we're still out in the community reminding everyone and educating that these stories that we're talking about, this vision that we're going to share, happen to individuals who live locally. So we have partnered all across the state with different organizations where our exhibits are going to be shown for a prolonged period of time to make the emotional connection with the community. And we're highlighting the survivors, as you mentioned, and also those who risked their life or who did something extraordinary that allowed these individuals to survive.
Indeed, and artifacts as well.
Correct. Artifacts are a critical piece of the experience. They always connect students. So every exhibit has artifacts that go with it.
How are these stories presented?
So the companion events that go with the stories, when students and community members go and visit, there's an exhibit that includes specific stories of the liberation or of a moment that occurred to these survivors with their liberators, and then the artifacts speak for themselves. So they have examples and they share, but what's really critical are the companion programs that go with them really bring the stories to life.
Yeah, indeed. Let's talk about some of these stories. We have Gerda Weissman Klein and Kurt Klein. Talk to us about Gerda. Talk to us about Kurt.
Sure. This is an incredible love story. This story is about Gerda and Kurt. Gerda went through the war, 6 years of being in various camps, starved, death marches, labor camps, and she was at the end of her journey in an abandoned factory where she ended up really changing her life in one moment. She said the best moment of her life happened when Kurt, who also himself had grown up in Eastern Europe, he was originally from Eastern Europe, came from Germany, came back to liberate the troops. So he walked into this abandoned factory. He immediately saw Gerda. He said, "Take me to see who else is here." There were about 120 women that were there.
Wow.
And he held the door for Gerda.
Oh.
And she said in that moment, her entire humanity came back and she felt like it was a change in her life, her trajectory. She ended up marrying him a year later and coming here to America.
And just her story now has been filmed, and there've been TV shows about this, and they've won awards and everything, huh?
Correct. She has been awarded a Medal of Honor. She's really become an incredible spokesperson for the resilience and how Holocaust survivors and liberators, Kurt's story is just as remarkable, have really left their mark on society.
We have another survivor story, Esther and her daughter Rachel. Talk to us about them.
Esther's known as the honey girl of Auschwitz. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. She passed recently. And Esther survived unbelievable circumstances. She was taken to Auschwitz at age 16. She suffered tremendous loss, and she ended up here in America, and her daughter reached out to a liberating force as they were holding one of their events and was able to reunite Esther with her liberator, who coined the term honey girl because she had gotten sick when eating honey after being starved.
Wow.
And so they were reunited and they had a friendship, and unfortunately he passed and then she passed recently, but we have an interactive device that allows you to have conversations with Esther.
And interesting. That must be something. But I was going to mention, she always, from what I read, always kind of ended her talks and her addresses with forgiveness, with the concept of forgiveness.
Absolutely. She said that for her own sake, she decided to forgive, and that she turned her life legacy into ensuring that others heard her message and knew what she went through in order to prevent it happening again.
That's a great story. One more here. This is a survivor, Margot, and her last name is kind of familiar here, Margot Frank.
Yes. So the world is very familiar with her sister, her younger sister, Anne Frank, because she left her message to society in a diary. But Margot's much less known. She was quieter. Her sister described her as a little more shy. But nonetheless, she was the story of ultimate, went through the experience hiding in the annex with her sister, family, and others. They were discovered and deported. Ultimately, she ended up perishing from typhus in Bergen-Belsen. And the story pairs her with a classmate of hers, or a student that she knew at the time, who remembers her as being very quiet, walking back from school. And this is a story he ended up surviving. Margot passed away very close to liberation. And so this is also a story about how certain circumstances that were very random allowed some people to survive, and others, we want to make sure that we keep the legacy alive. So Margot is a critical story that we want to share.
Keeping the legacy alive, obviously a big thing here. What else do you want people to take from this, from these exhibits?
We want them to understand that these were their neighbors and their community members. We put the exhibit out in the community because that's where we want people to engage with them. These are stories of individuals who lived in this area. They all have a personal connection to Phoenix. And even though it seems like this happened very long ago, when you learn the stories, you realize this wasn't very long ago, and it wasn't only in a place very far away. This also affected our local community.
Indeed. What kind of reaction are you getting so far from these stories? When these stories and these things are presented, how do people react?
It's been remarkable. We hear from students that they had no idea. In a day and age where not everyone even believes that the Holocaust happened, these stories bring the reality of what occurred down to the students. And I think it makes them very eager to learn more, to engage with the material, and hopefully they'll be joining us just in a year and a half when we open our new museum.
Talk about that real quickly before we go. When is that opening, and what kind of facility are we talking about?
Very exciting. August of 2027. We're already in the middle of construction right now, right down the street. Very exciting. We're finalizing the exhibit design. This is going to be innovative. It's going to be an experience for students of all ages. And we're really thrilled to have the community join us along for the ride.
Well, Tali Dippel, thank you so much again for sharing this exhibit and talking to us about it. Hilton Family Holocaust Education Center. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Primavera Online School now offers kindergarten through 5th grade with a project-based curriculum, digital learning activities, and small group instruction.